We're going to jump into our three pack. So, Nick Todd, I've been just toying around, and this is going to become a 2 week series for me of just controlling conversations, controlling the narrative, and really just kind of talking about how we perceive ChatGPT. There's a lot of people that are concerned about ChatGPT. A lot of people are excited about it. I think as real estate agents, those that are excited about ChatGPT are falling into a really deep trap because it's not a replacement of everything outside of just your grammar and your spelling. But so I think it starts with just understanding what ChatGPT can do and what it can't. As I mentioned, there's a lot of concern about it, depending on what you do for a living. If you're a movie writer, TV writer, you've got some concerns that ChatGPT is going to come in and replace your job. But I think for us, it's important for what ChatGPT cannot do for us. And I think the mistake that we make is we think it is a replacement, and it is becoming one of our top lead gen sources. It's not. It's not going to lead gen for you. Are you going to be able to write better? Sure. You're going to be able to create more content? Sure. But everybody is doing that, and everybody is using ChatGPT for it. So here's what ChatGPT can't do. And this is what I want to talk about this morning. It can't talk for you. When I'm sitting in front of a client, if I'm on a listing presentation or a buyer consult, ChatGPT can't talk for me. I got to figure out how to be able to talk. And it can't share my story. It cannot humanize the real estate process or the real estate transaction. And so that's kind of what I wanted to focus on. So with that, let's just kind of jump into unless you,
Well, I would like to start because we're getting questions on what is ChatGPT. So I think we need to take a step and let's not assume everyone knows what this is. And I think utilizing AI over ChatGPT, because at this point there's over 1,000 different websites out there. ChatGPT is the big dog in the marketplace when it comes to AI functionality. But at its core, this system is a language model that utilizes AI technology to have communication. So you can go into ChatGPT and you can say, ChatGPT, write me a 30-second elevator pitch on why the real estate market is a good climate for buyers and sellers. And it will then spit out to you a starting point. And Mike, you're 100% accurate. It's going to write it like a robot. It's not going to have a conversation for you. So you lose your voice. You don't want to put all of your eggs in this basket because you still need to be able to have conversations, real estate related conversations out in the wild. So if you haven't played with it, please go to chatgpt.com. I don't know if that's the right link, but you'll be able to find it on Google and just start throwing ideas, questions, ask it to write emails for you, and we'll see the basic 101 functionality. And then if you really want to get into it, go on the calendar and look for one of Keith's classes, and it'll get you a much better understanding of what it can do. But I agree, starting down this rabbit hole, because we are seeing agents leverage it for their voice, and that's a terrible thing to use this for.
well, and it's just like when we all started texting and we all started using email, everybody started to do it, but it doesn't replace the good old fashioned let me pick up the phone and let me call and have a conversation. It's technology is just it assists. It doesn't replace. It's not your lead gen, and everybody is using. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people are using AI. So it's going to, and it's still going to come down. And Todd, this is what's never changed about our industry. It's never changed, and it's never going to change.
Well, this is probably, Mike, one of the most important aspects which you just brought up. The historical perspective that you can provide, your own personal experience in transactions that you can provide, the more stories that really took place with individual consumers that ChatGPT as an AI can't scrape off of anywhere. It's just not, that kind of data just is not out there. And so this is where people become afraid when they think, oh my gosh, tomorrow morning Facebook could turn on something that says, hey, list your home for free. Why use a realtor? Google could do that. Any of these services could do that. Buyers, if this NAR lawsuit thing goes the wrong way and buyers end up having to have, realtors have to end up having sit down conversations with buyers and get them under contract before you can start showing people homes, all these different kinds of things. That's a spooky thing. But people think that's taking our market away. No, the market is what's between your ears. It's your
Mm.
competence, it's your experience, it's the historical perspectives you can provide, the stories of other clients that you've assisted in these same similar processes. That someday, maybe, 20, 30, 50 years from today, that could go away, or it might not. The worst case, Mike, it might be considered irrelevant to a transaction if they cookie cutter it.
So the point for this one is it's what I was saying is what's never changed about our industry is if you want to be successful, you have to have face-to-face real estate conversations with people. You have to prospect. That is how you do it in our business. And yet, with a lot of technology, we've gotten away from it. With ChatGPT, everybody thinks this is the end-all, be-all. It's going to replace it because now I've got 50 Facebook posts that I get to post that's been created. We have to, and I feel like that's where we're going to see over the next couple years an attrition rate of agents getting out of the business. And for me, the agents that don't make it are going to be the agents that don't know how to have real estate conversations with people. So some ideas, I would be reading books on sales. How do I sell? How do I have a
The human mind.
real estate conversation? How do I have a conversation with someone? And I like this. I don't know why more people just don't do something like Toastmasters. I came across this agent last week. I was at a conference in Vegas, and she just said she was just terrified. She couldn't talk to anyone. Just clammed up, couldn't talk to anyone. And her boss sent her to Chicago and enrolled her in a improv class. So she learned how to go up on stage and just talk without any preparation. And now she's killing it. We have to learn how to talk.
Definitely. This is why we used to use the DISC assessment, and we still do, but again, I don't know that it has as much bandwidth as it used to. But once you start to learn about yourself, there's ways that you will be comfortable doing certain things. But you have to know the way you're wired first, and then you can seek some assistance in getting around that to be able to be successful.
Well, people are going to try to hide behind this system, and that's, I think, the biggest concern. So conversation doesn't start on the phone anymore. It may start face-to-face, but more than likely it's going to start via text, via email, or via social media. If you're leveraging this technology to speak for you, when you get in front of someone and your human voice is different than your text, your email, and your online voice, that's going to be confusing. We've seen agents start leveraging the ChatGPT app to literally write comments on Facebook posts, to write texts to potential clients or to their friends and family. Let me tell you something, guys. We know you're using AI when you are sending and posting and using that system and not yourself.
So in the text I just got, that same exact way, it came out. It says, "Hi, your property at such and such and such and such. You interested in selling it?" And then I replied, "Stop." And it came back to me and it said, "Oh, I am a live person."
Yep.
And they weren't, because I asked about 4 more questions and found out, no, it was still automation. So you're supposed to be able to put in the word stop, and it's supposed to say, "Hey, I've asked to be withdrawn," but it's not happening right now.
Yeah, and you guys are aware of who the top producing agents here are. I mean, I would say almost 2-to-1, the top producing agents are the agents that know how to have conversations and can sell. It's not, for me, it's not always about the lead source. It doesn't matter how many leads you get. You can get, if you can't sell and you don't know how to have a real estate conversation, it doesn't matter how many leads you get.
So let's talk about that word just for a second, though, the word leads. Because in sales, a lead is someone who is ready, willing, and has the ability to purchase the product, whether it's an automobile for $100,000 or a house for $500,000. So we have become accustomed over the last 10 years to think that someone who's breathing, that started a sales process at some particular point, is considered a lead. It really isn't. It's just a suspect or a prospect. And we have to understand we're so far better off walking away from these sometimes. All right, let me make sure we understand that. Sometimes walking away from these automated lead generation services that have 1,000-to-1 success ratio and going into something that's a prospecting event where you're actually having verbal communication with people that's more of a 6-to-1.
All right, and then third, kind of, learn how to storify your pitch. A part of what ChatGPT can't do. ChatGPT can't break into your head and know your stories. AI can't speak uh, for you on the humanistic level. It's not a human, and it probably never will be unless you read Isaac Asimov books.
Yep.
So I wouldn't say never.
Yeah, don't say never, buddy. We're talking to robots right now.
Yeah.
But the best thing that you can do, and this is where we're going to dig deeper into next week, as far as controlling and changing the narrative. Every single person that you come in contact has a narrative in their head about the real estate
Wow,
market.
that's good.
And you have to,
Extract it.
again, be able to talk. But the best way to do this and the best way to change that narrative is to include stories, whether they are personal stories that you've had as far as real estate. If you've recently purchased, you recently made a bunch of money on a home, or if I'm working with a first-time home buyer, I'm going back and saying, okay, who was the last first-time home buyer that I worked with, and including that story, because that does definitely will change the narrative. Because this is what happens to me all the time. I get people come up to me, kind of that look, feeling sorry for me, and they're like, "Oh, Mike, so how's the real estate market?" Because they're hearing how bad it is, and I go, "Are you kidding me?" I go, "It's incredible. We're busier than we've ever been," and they're like, "Really?" And then I'll go into a story, and I'll tell why and who we just helped and so forth. And now we're changing that narrative.
It's that awkward silence between them bringing up their narrative and you having something to be able to say. And the nice thing is always either you can immediately ask another question if you're kind of a little caught off guard, or go into one of your stories, or maybe that'll give you time enough to think of one of those stories. But you should have already had that. If you know you're going into a listing appointment, you know the price range, you know the certain things, you should already come prepared.
I know we're up against it, but I do just want to say I think this is probably one of the most important things that faces realtors today
100%.
is their inability to communicate. And it's we have a lot of people on the podcast this morning. If you really don't know what direction to go, if you're not sure how to have a conversation out in public about real estate, you need to talk to a coach. You need to talk to a team leader. You need to talk to a broker. You need to figure this part out in your business, because I would put a lot of money that our top producers, anyone who's successful in real estate, has no problem sitting for 20, 30, 45 an hour talking about real estate right now today. And if you can't, that's a conversation that you need to start right now and look at your business.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, we are for this Wednesday at our team meeting, so we'll invite anyone who wants to go. We're going to dig deep into this because I'm really excited about this and talk about that whole narrative thing. So if you're interested, my email is mikew@westusa.com.